Join Divine Oracle Readings. Your host, Gypsy Lady Eva and Brother Chris, discuss spiritual topics and current events.
We're back again, and yeah, so Eva was saying though she had a good afternoon. I had a good afternoon. Before we did our show tonight, I crashed for roughly 5 minutes, if that. So what we're going to be looking at tonight though is mental health and spiritual awakening. So I'll leave that up for you, Eva, to start.
Okay, where do you want me to start?
Doesn't matter, anywhere.
Okay, first of all, what is the spiritual awakening? And that's one of the things that you really have to think about before you really get into it. And spiritual awakenings, sometimes it is a long time coming. Other times you get hit in the head with the epiphany and you have that spiritual awakening. And once it's shot through you, to lack of a better term, because that's what it does do, you don't forget and you go on to be more spiritually aware, and you find yourself sometimes getting a bit intolerant with some of these religions that preach love, and you look at what they do and you realize that that's not what they practice. They don't practice what they preach. But a spiritual awakening is something that I can tell you about it. I can give you all kinds of examples, but none of them are going to be what you will experience, because everybody experiences it in a different way. But it is where the only way I can say is a door opens and you realize you've been in the closet. That didn't come out right. You've been in a very small room. You've been inside all your life. You open that door and you're outside, and outside is beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to it than the little glimpses you got out the windows.
Yeah.
Because, and that's the way I like to describe it. It's when you take that first step outside that you realize how confined your life has been.
Yeah.
And you start looking at people differently, and you realize sometimes with the spiritual awakening that you can read people a lot easier. You know when they're lying, you know when they're not being honest with you.
Yeah. And for that there, it's not like mental health, right? Mental health though, most people think to do with anxiety or bipolar or even schizophrenia. But most people usually think about schizophrenia directly for that, because you're actually hearing things. You're being more open to the spiritual world than mental health. Mental health, though, with actually schizophrenia, you're hearing things, right? You're turning around and you're saying, well, where the heck did that come from? You usually don't have proper knowledge. Even with depression though can actually take you in different turns, different ways. There's altogether 4 different levels of shift depression. Same with anxiety. But the thing though is depression though it's taking you down a dark road. Spiritual awakening is not. And then with anxiety though is being too scared for going into getting to know people. And you're shutting yourself down, right? Again, though, spiritual awakening, is more like what Eva was saying, though, it's actually opening you up a lot more. So again, though, there is a difference between mental health and also spiritual awakening. So yeah.
The difference I would say between mental health and a spiritual awakening, mental health is before the light comes on.
Yeah.
With the spiritual awakening, the light does come on, and you have a better understanding. Whereas with mental health, you can travel the same path that you're on with an awareness of being more
more
able
into.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no
Sometimes
problem.
words fail me.
It's like that's a, but yeah. So there are actually 21 different signs actually of spiritual awakening, and I'll leave those for Eva to read up.
Okay, let me get to them.
So yeah.
21 signs of a spiritual awakening. You will feel disconnected or detached. You will begin to reevaluate your belief systems. You will find that your dreams are far more vivid, plus the fact that you will remember them more. You will experience more synchronicities, excuse me, and that will really get your attention. Your relationships begin to shift, and you will really begin to seek out those people who better understand what is going through, even though they may not have gone through it themselves. You will feel spirituality becoming an important part of your life. You will be more intuitive, and I think those kind of are all tied in.
Yeah.
You will sense inauthenticity and manipulation. It kind of goes with what I said. You look at the people and you can actually see some of these things. You will realize that everyone has their own path they must follow. And you will want to be of service to people. Sometimes you will feel alone, like you're the only one out there in the universe that is experiencing this, and you're not. But that's kind of how you feel until your teachers start finding you. And then you begin to blossom. You will feel more connected to the natural world. You'll have a better heightened idea of the weather changes, of the seasonal changes. Your senses are heightened. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You will have more bodily sensations. You will have physical symptoms. There will be a sudden change in your habit and routine. And that one is probably one of the most surprising to many people, because all of a sudden things that you used to do don't make any sense anymore, but all this other stuff does. Your outlook on the world will feel different. There will be increased empathy. And that's one of the big ones. You gotta watch for that one.
Yeah.
You will display more compassion, and you will have newfound curiosity. And that one is kind of left for last, because one of the things with this is that you will, your curiosity is going to take you to places that you didn't think you would ever go, just because you want to know. There's this need. And the spiritual awakening is not so much how can I say this? It's not so much that you are going to be a teacher to learn all these things, but you're going to be learning all these things so you can teach. If that makes any sense.
It does on my end, but I know most viewers will say it does actually on their end.
But the curiosity is the thing that kind of is one of the hallmarks, because that's when you really realize, number one, there is a connectedness to the universe. And there's something that threads through the whole thing. And I know we haven't made a connection physically with the universe, but mentally people do. And there are people who have had their spiritual awakening and claim they have connected with other beings.
Yeah.
And we're not talking angels.
And we're not talking about angels. We're not talking about also UFOs, like aliens altogether. We're basically talking about a higher power. Right. So most people think the angels are a higher power, but there's a higher power over top of the angels and also with the aliens. Right. So that's what it is. And then the great thing though is about the teachers, right? And it's true though. It's true though, because most times if you're working actually on your spiritual awakening, right, even on your spiritual self, people will come and find you.
Yes.
Right. And then with mental health though, you're usually trying to hide yourself so nobody else finds you. right? But the great thing though is with, again, those with teachers, they're trying to find you so that way you can actually enlighten them more within the positive way.
I wouldn't say they're trying to find you. I think they're just waiting to find you.
That's the best way how to put it. Yeah.
People who have gone through the spiritual awakening, it's almost like you can connect with them.
Yeah.
Whether you actually connect with them, like you're sitting in a restaurant and you look over and you just know this person's spiritual. They've had that.
Yeah.
And
And
you almost want to go over.
Sorry. But
Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, for spiritual, we're not talking about like we're religious. We're talking about beyond the religion. Right. There is religion and then there's spiritual. Spiritual though is more or less understanding the energy of the world. Right. Again, though, sort of like what Eva was saying, though, is if you sit across from a restaurant and if you look across, you can be able to pick out that person, and the other person can be able to pick up you, and you're connected. It could be a
Very
friend.
much so.
It could be a friend. It could be a stranger, and that's how it is. So, but yeah, again, those with mental health though is a step though that's teaching you within the right direction how to go by getting the proper support. But once you get your mental health under control, all these 21 steps though that were mentioned through Eva, you can actually be able to work on to help you go further down the road. So,
and one of the things you mentioned is about spirituality, the spiritual awakening. You become spiritual, but it's beyond religion. Religion to me is a set of rules depending on the religion. I mean, one of the prime examples I like to use is the Amish. I mean, their rules are this, and this. You do not have electricity. You do not have this. You do not. Fine, but does that make you a better person?
yeah.
Whereas with spiritualism or spiritual awakening, the rules, I don't want to say don't matter, but you realize how superficial they really are. And when you hit that spiritual awakening, you embrace the coreness of core part of the religion, and you don't need all that extra stuff. As like with the Amish, you can live at one with nature without having to go without electricity, outdoor plumbing, all that, or having to dress a certain way. And it goes the same with just about any religion you want to name, and that goes beyond the Christian into the Buddhists and the Hindus and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And with the spiritual awakening, you realize what is spiritualist or spiritual. Oh, I can't talk tonight. I apologize.
Spiritual awakening.
Yes.
Yeah.
You realize that there's so much more beyond. So, I'm not saying to turn away from a religion. In fact, if that's your choice to stay, like you enjoy going to mass. I know several people who have gone through spiritual awakening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. They don't like to refer themselves as Catholic, but they enjoy the whole aura of the mass. If that's clear. It's the same with other. I know several Jewish people who love to go to temple, even though they have had their spiritual awakening. They don't play with all the same rules. Like if they want to enjoy a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, they are. What can I say? Yeah. And so that's where that comes from, or that's where that leads to.
Yeah, no. So what just happened though is it's good that you continued on, but my mic actually kicked off for some reason. I don't know why, but it must be in the energy. But yeah, so that's what had happened. the next one that we're going to look at though is basically some of the stages actually of awakening actually within the spiritual and mental health altogether.
Okay.
All right, so that's what we're going to look at. So some people say though that actually spiritual awakening though is actually the very first step, basically to be down the path with like what you were just saying. But it's not always the first step to be able to go down the spiritual road. There's different techniques though that can actually help out. And again, though, I'll let you read on.
Do you want me just to read the steps, or do you want me to get into it?
Yeah, the steps is good.
Okay, the various process and steps of a spiritual awakening or stages. The first is the actual spiritual awakening, followed by the dark night of the soul. And I had never heard that one, but yeah, you go through a rough patch where it's like you're not really sure about all this stuff. And then there's the sponge, the next step, third step.
Which is basically is people are absorbing things. Like you're absorbing actually all the information, all the energy, all together. And sometimes sponges will get too full, but we always have to drain that out. So go on for the next one. Sorry.
And then there's I'm not sure I'm saying this right, the Satoru, which is from the Japanese, and it means awakening or comprehension. And that step is that you're beginning to see things and understand the true nature of stuff. The next one is the soul sessions. This is I'm just trying to put it in better words. It's when your soul is growing and you begin to absorb even more, and it just makes the enlightenment even more. There is the surrender, which is the next to the last step, and it's like you just finally give into it totally.
Yeah.
And it helps you to figure out your lifestyle from then on. And then there is awareness and service. And I would actually break that down into two separate ones, because awareness gives you that wholeness that you can do and take the next step into service where you can help people. Your turn.
All right. But yeah, so the awareness and service. So basically, those like again the awareness. So you're like for myself though, when I was reading that, you're drawing more attention to actually the information that's around you. It could be with people talking, or did you with actually the earth. For people in North America, so Turtle Island, basically trying to talk to you, right? And how can you bring that information forward to help out others? So that's actually with the service altogether. That's what I was getting though. Always though is what number 7 though is always the best thing, which is actually awareness and service. Those are the most what I find though are the most important though. There's because we got to take time back. Like if you're having an argument with somebody, or even if somebody's having an argument with you, step back, but keep yourself there. Okay, step back mentally and look at the picture altogether, and look from the outside and say how can we bring this solution back? What's the service so that can we help bring us back together? So that's what I was getting for that one.
And these steps are very good. And the one thing I would add to that is they may not actually happen in that order. You may become aware of one thing, or go into one step, and like the darkness of the soul, the dark, whatever that it was. And sometimes I have found that doesn't happen as the second step, but it can happen later after you've really absorbed all this stuff, like the sponge, where you really pull in and do all these, and all of a sudden it's that dark night of the soul. And you really begin to wonder, is this the right, am I doing it?
Yeah.
Is this really what, but that's just an observation on my part.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true though. There's one because a friend of mine though. She's been going through actually these 7 stages though herself. She's more in tune with the spiritual self. She sort of like Tina Turner. She earlier in life, she went through abuse. Right, this lady did. But the thing though is, she turned around and said, "I'm going to give up actually the spiritual stuff." But the thing though is, you can never really walk away from it. The energy will call you right when the time is right, and that's one thing though that she's actually learned. Is so the time has actually called her back to service.
Okay, one of the 21 steps or 21 signs is the synchronicities. If you kind of turn away from it, there'll be things that'll happen that it's like, it happened once, it happens twice, it's like all 3 of them are this kind of the same thing, and you sit there and you think, whoa, okay, what they're trying to get my attention again.
Yep.
So that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, and in the mental health area, there is depression, anxiety, bipolar, and schizophrenia, and there are different levels altogether, right? So we all suffer from mental health. We can't say that we don't suffer, because we do suffer from mental health. But the thing though is, what is going to help us more or less down the road, and that's connecting with yourself the spiritual way, and also connecting with people that are more within the spiritual community. They are there to help you. Yeah, you might have friends that turn around and say, "Oh yeah, let's go to a haunted place and check out the energy there." And you might be saying no, but within the long run, it's a good thing though. There's most, because you're opening yourself more within the right direction. So
I agree.
that's like that.
I agree.
So never ever walk away just because you have mental health. Mental health is the first stage. Spiritual awakening is the second thing.
It's the sextant.
Yes. I know that stuff, but yeah, it is the second thing actually for you. Again, though, we want to hear from you. Type down in the comments, or even if you want to be able to get some encouraging, you can get that through Eva or myself. Our links are going to be actually at the end of this stream, so you guys can actually send us emails. I'm personally trained through CHMA, which is Canadian Mental Health Association. I know Eva also suffers from mental health. So, all right, I suffer from mental health. So I'm not being ashamed from it. So
it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Tina Turner and some of the things that she went through in her life. And she did have some mental health issues, and she refused to let them take her down. But she also knew it was something that she was going to have to deal with the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah.
And it worked.
A great song, though, is Simply the Best. From her.
I'm sorry.
Better than all the rest.
And all the rest, including the ones with Ike.
Yeah.
Like big wheels keep on turning, proud Mary keeps on burning.
So
sorry.
But yeah. So again, though, if you guys would like to be able to get a copy of tonight's footnotes, you guys can do so through sending it to Divine Oracle Readings at gmail.com. That's Divine Oracle Reading at gmail.com. I'd be glad to help send this information out to you guys, so we can help you also with your spiritual journey. Sure. Now I'm tongue twisted. You're probably not now. So, but thinking as though it's starting to become summer weather across Turtle Island, right? So anything else that you'd like to add, Eva, to the footnote to tonight's show?
Not really. Not really. I think we've said it all.
Okay.
Well, not
I agree
all,
with-
but we've discussed we've discussed it.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. So again, those I do say thanks a lot, Eva, for tuning in. Again, though, with live with me, you know that you're across from the table from me. So
Yeah.
and also for everybody else, share with your friends. Let your friends know about us. And we do hope you guys tune into next week's show. Next week's show will be an awesome one. Again, those tune in. We're here at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at 4 o'clock Pacific Time. So please tune in, and you guys have a wonderful day.
That's why our Etsy store is always open. Get your paranormal items from cleansing to protection to attraction. Live.
Why do you seem so scared? All I wanted to do was play with you. Please come and play with me. I am so lonely. You're not afraid of the dark, are you? Don't be afraid.
September 10th, why not come out to the Stratford Perth Museum for the Indigenous Arts and Craft Market for celebration.
And now, back to our program.